Hello, everyone. We're live. Hey, everyone. And today we have a very special episode of The Link. I'm introducing, which, Kai is usually introducing, because today we're celebrating Trans Day of Remembrance. Trans Day Remembrance is this Friday, and the week leading up to it is Trans Awareness Week. So we also have a very special guest with us today, Melissa Marquette. She is our Trans Wellness Program Manager. So we're going to get a little bit of her perspective as well. And we'll be bringing on somebody else from the Trans Connections team for our main segment. But today we're going to start with my personal favorite segment, the What's Poppin' segment, our pop culture segment, which we just recently named. So I'm super excited to talk about what's been going on recently. And I'll just open it up because we, agreed on at least bringing one thing up, which was the Harry Styles cover. So Harry Styles recently made waves when he was on the cover of, I forgot what magazine, but he had
a lot of... Vanity Fair? I think it was
Vanity Fair. Okay, yeah. And he came on and he had a few shots that were like very gender nonconforming, either wearing a dress or something like that. And of course, the internet went crazy, either in praise, but of course, also the right-wing hate mob started to come up with their, we're feminizing men narrative. And I have a lot of complicated thoughts about it, just as a trans person. So I don't know if anybody else wants to start off, but, we'll just open it up for the group.
That's Rogelio's way of saying, well, then what's poppin'? I'll start it off. So, as a cisgender Black gay man, I thought Harry Styles in a dress was phenomenal. First and foremost, dresses are comfortable. I've worn several dresses on numerous occasions and was completely comfortable and fine with it. I think that when it comes to, I guess, kind of like the backlash that he received, right? When it comes to the backlash that he received, everyone's so quick to talk about, oh, we're feminizing men and we're doing X, Y, and Z and we're doing blah, 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 blah. But if he's comfortable wearing said dress, how is that feminizing him? He's wearing something that he is comfortable in. So I didn't really understand. I mean, I get it because I know the world that we live in, but I didn't really understand the haters, putting together like their whole little scenarios about, he was in this boy band and they had millions of women who loved him and blah, 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 blah. None of that makes any of a difference. If he's comfortable in a dress, he's comfortable in the dress. And it was a nice dress at that, especially the green one. So I was completely okay with it. I didn't feel like it was anything. It was just exhausting watching so many people kind of like tear it apart. This was art. You know what I mean? This was a gorgeous piece of art. He slayed ththose photos. Kudos to you, Harry Styles. Kudos to you.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting because, just wear what you want to wear. I mean, really. I mean, and that's a good thing, is a lot of people do, and they don't listen to the naysayers out there. But, it's just really interesting how we equate this whole thing of, femininity and, taking something that's masculine and making it feminine, that makes it lesser. I'm here to say, I pretty much, as a trans woman, I pretty much rocked it. Like in my younger years, I was pretending to be a guy, did my best, but I'm still rocking it as a woman, and I'm still strong as ever. So, this whole notion of, feminizing men, like, what's really wrong with it? It's not going to make them less of a human being. It's not going to make them less powerful, less assertive, all the adjectives that you can use to describe men. Women can be the same way. So, I just think it's awesome to see people like that out there expressing the way that they want to express. So kudos.
Right. I definitely think that having a figure like that who's so big, who's like, doing something like that, it does move the needle. And while, I think we have to look at it from like a broad perspective. Most of Harry Styles fans are probably not in the community or not LGBTQ. I'm sure a sizable portion are, but like, this is, we have to think about it from a societal impact. He's a celebrity for everyone. But I also think on the other side of it, there is a bit of like a criticism there, just because, not for Harry Styles himself and wearing a dress, because that's completely fine. It's just about how this idea that we always elevate, particularly cis het white men, as, you know, these
Oh yeah, agreed.
standards of gender nonconformity. Like, this is the face of gender nonconformity, a cishet man who, you know, wore this for a magazine. And he does, you know, he is gender nonconforming in his style generally as well. But I just find it interesting that society tends to cling on to those examples a lot more, while, you know, trans people, trans femme people are still not given the representation that, you know, we're worth.
Yeah, absolutely. Really quickly, sorry. There was a album cover in 2014 by the rapper Young Thug, and he wore a dress, and the Black community went crazy over the fact that this guy was wearing this, I think it was Saint Laurent or something like that, some high-end dress on the cover of his album cover. Looked amazing, but just the idea of this rapper wearing a dress just blew people's minds. And it's just like, at the end of the day, you'll spend more time focused on trying to demean it than you would accepting it. It's not something that I think in 2020 we should still be worried about. Like, people can kind of do what they please. You know, they're not, him not wearing a dress is not him harming anyone. He is expressing himself, and that is very well within his right. Go ahead, Kai. I'm sorry to cut you off.
So yeah, I was actually going to agree with Rogelio on that second part that they made. So yes, obviously in a grander sense of things, this is a really big thing because there's going to be a large amount of people who have not supported someone who's gender nonconforming. Same kind of idea with Bad Bunny, with when Bad Bunny was really pushing gender, dressing up. However, this is where I conflict with it, and with Rogelio saying is we're uplifting a cisgender, you know, white het male with a lot of privilege, when we could even look back not even too long ago when we had Lil Nas X for Halloween dress and drag Nicki Minaj. That's the first rapper we've ever seen.
Brilliant.
Yeah, a Black rapper really taking a stance and kind of working with gender. We can also look at Jaden Smith. His entire career as an adult, or even late in, as a teenager, you know, he was, I think it was Chanel. He was the spokesperson of Chanel in dresses, but we weren't seeing the same kind of, I guess, support there. So it's definitely like, are we only lifting up certain people who are gender nonconforming? But then when we just talk about, when we look at representation of gender nonconforming, why are we looking at people who are able to slip out of it so easily and just kind of like, you know, if Vanity Fair or if any of these other magazines really want to push this idea of gender nonconforming, especially in the fashion industry, use the people who are actually gender nonconforming in their everyday life. People who are just doing this for award shows every so often to shake things up a little bit. And, you know, for me on social media, my big issue was people saying, we've never seen an artist do this before. We've never seen someone. And I instantly went, so fuck Prince. Oh, excuse me. Forget Prince's drag. Like Prince's entire career was about playing with gender. And there's so many different artists who are doing that. So I know for me, it was just one of those, like, this is weird. But I also look at it, is it a generational thing? Just the younger generation, is this kind of what they're seeing for the first time? But then I'm like, not Gen Zers.
I feel like it's also a media thing too, though. You and Rogelio both have really valid points, but to add on to it, it's a media thing. I think that when the media portrays a man in a dress, you get a specific background that they're able to control before it's presented to us, as opposed to someone, like you stated, being gender nonconforming, being non-binary, and being on the cover of Vanity Fair or whatever the case may be. Yes, absolutely uplift the community with people who actually live it. I completely agree. I also think that the media plays a big portion in that, because we would never know if Harry Styles is gender nonconforming because his team wouldn't allow him to do that.
No, yeah, I definitely think that taking it back to what Kai said about Bad Bunny too, like, I remember when that whole thing was going on, it was really pissing me off because I was just like, he was getting so much credit for being like trans positive and all these things. And he specifically said that that one song that he made was like dedicated to trans women. And then in the music video for it, he like dresses up in drag and kind of like performs and almost makes like a mockery of it, which I was kind of just like, I don't know how I feel about like a cishet man saying that this is for trans women. And then like, what were you trying to like portray trans women in your music video? Because then, you know, it takes it a step too far. And with Harry Styles, I think my criticism, I hesitated to even make it because I don't think the criticism is on him. It's more
Yeah.
so about what we as a society are okay with and what we're not okay with. And the fact that seeing Harry Styles is something that, you know, a lot of people celebrate and lift up, you know, but they never take the opportunity to lift up the trans people in their lives or something like that is something that
Right.
I think is super important to note. And along with that, I also, sorry, I also think that, like, since, you know, the larger conversation is being dominated by like the Ben Shapiro types of people in the world who, you know, have huge followings and are these like huge right-wing voices, the fact that that's the dominant voice where he's talking about like, you know, oh, we're feminizing men and, you know, Western culture is being ruined by the left and all these other things, you know, like, I think that's what should take precedent. So
Yeah,
at
if
the
you
end of
don't,
the day,
if he feels like that's feminizing men, don't do it. It's so simple in the grand scheme of things. Don't, if you identify as a male and that's not something that you are comfortable with doing, instead of damning it, don't do it. Just don't do it.
And
I think
I
it
saw
also-
this really,
oh,
go ahead. I saw this really funny meme online about Ben Shapiro, like making this huge comment about that answer. And someone's like, it's funny that someone who's 5'3" is having this conversation with you. Well, not to shame or anything, but when we talk about masculinity, someone short definitely is not what we would consider our idea of masculinity.
Right.
So it's funny because I'm sure if you were to throw that back on him, it would be a whole different kind of conversation.
Completely. And his height is not something that he can.
All my short people, my short kings, queens, my short royals out there, I'm short too. So I'm not saying that it takes away from masculinity or femininity at all, but like, come on.
He literally made waves this summer because he was making fun of WAP, talking about like WAP as if he like didn't even know that, you know, the downstairs area of cis women could get wet in the first place. So it's like the fact that he has so much confidence and is, you know, being some arbiter of masculinity when he's, you know, this nerdy little, you know, weasel. It's kind of, it's just so pathetic, honestly. But also back to the point about the dress, I think it also is a display of how like fickle gender is in general, because, you know, 200 years ago, our founding fathers were, you know, wearing dresses and wearing powdered wigs and, you know, doing heels and all that drag.
Beat to the gods.
Right. So it's only recently that we've decided that, you know, this is not acceptable for men to wear, or this is not masculine, this is not feminine. So I think it's also kind of ridiculous that we get hung up on such arbitrary things like what somebody's wearing.
Yeah.
I wanted to let Melissa say anything else if
well, it just seems like, you know, sometimes we just you know, we pick these people, or the media picks these people based on ratings and elevates them. And it's a shame because there's a lot of people out there, like Kai mentioned, that are living authentically as non-binary or as trans. And you know, those people are just as beautiful, and they deserve the same exposure that the rest of them do. So
absolutely,
for sure.
Yeah, and I think for me, one of the things that I've been doing on social media personally is really finding those, because, you know, social media, you can find anything you want on social media. And for me, it's like, I don't want to, you know, I mean, once again, I'm not taking away from the kind of shift on a global perspective of Harry Styles, but I know for me, those aren't the images that I want to see. When I uplift, you know, people who are non-binary, trans voices, I let them do the talking. I want them to be my representation. So I find I look out for those kind of images. So I hope everyone who's watching do the same, right?
Absolutely.
You could celebrate Harry Styles, but as long as you're also like meeting that energy with the trans people in your life, or the ones that aren't, just transness in general, gender nonconformity in general, not just when it's your favorite, you know, boy band, you know, celebrity person.
Or and when you all get a chance, take a look at this. I follow this magazine on Instagram called Obvious Mag, and they did a great story on gender non-binary people and beautiful photos. There's beautiful photos of gender non-conforming people and their stories. So definitely check out Obvious Mag. They have a great selection on that.
Yeah, there's a lot of great content. Even checking out the page Them.
They
have a lot of great trans content. They're constantly working with like a lot of amazing celebrities. So I think it's really important for us to, you know, do that work to seek out these people. You know, because I think even recently I was talking to a friend of mine who is trans and she's trying to be a model. And I was all like, you know, I grew up watching America's Next Top Model and I always like fantasized about it. But of course, being young and like, you know, not out and all that, I was just like, well, I could never be a model. Or like, being a male model doesn't look fun, But
It
like
doesn't.
in 2020, we've seen, Jari Jones, who was that plus size Black trans femme
Mhm.
who like was a Calvin Klein spokesperson, who's like
Absolutely.
Billboard was like printed and
Times
huge.
Square.
Right. And here in LA too, I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure there was a big billboard of her. So I think that it's like those examples that kind of remind you as a trans person that like anything is possible and that the needle is moving in our favor in terms of a large scale. But I think we're also going to talk a little bit more about that in the main segment of the show. So does anybody else have any, quick little pop culture things that are going on recently?
No.
Or any other comments on this?
I'm trying to think pop culture, what's happening?
Right.
I
I love Ari's new album, honestly. I finally listened to it. I know I'm a couple weeks
Yay.
late, but like so good, honestly. So many good songs.
It's a cute little fun thing. I like to like equate it to like the year 2000, like that kind of R&B feel, like late 90s, 2000s. That's the kind of vibe I get for it, and I love it. So
I love it for her. Yeah, I do.
No, and I feel like she even like referenced a little like her old work within the songs. Like there were songs that sounded like other songs. Like I forgot which one, but it kind of reminded me of like Borderline on Sweetener. So I don't know if Pharrell had a hand in that song as well.
Is Ariana Grande the crowned queen of pop now? Have we crowned her?
I think she was always kind of one of those queens of pops, but this is not. I wouldn't call this. I mean, I guess it's still pop. I wouldn't call it R&B, but I guess
definitely in between. I definitely will say it's like
she
a pop
writes the
R&B
line.
type of song. Yeah,
but she really is. She's one of those people that like. Not only is she putting out so many good things, but she's putting out a lot. Like the fact that she's had 3
consistent.
albums in the past couple years.
Very
is
consistent.
Wild to me.
Yeah.
I think, but that's what I'm noticing with a lot of people is lately everyone's been dropping stuff very, very quickly and just and I think the quarantine has kind of been the cause of that.
Right.
Everyone and the election played a major part in people not dropping music because we were all glued to the screen to see if Donald Trump would lose.
Well,
I wasn't glued to the screen. I knew he was gonna lose.
Melissa's like, I wasn't watching it.
Right.
I was really confident. Stand positive. Yeah.
Yes.
I was really confident before. I was like, he's gonna lose. There's no way. And then the day of, like, they had been talking about the red mirage or whatever, how like the day of it would look like Donald Trump was ahead because they hadn't gotten all the mail-in ballots counted. So even that day I was kind of freaking out because I was like, I didn't think it would be this close to the point where he's, I didn't even think that he would clearly win Florida. I thought it would be a little clearer. So when Florida went red, I was just kind of like, ooh, this is 2016 all over again, just seeing every state slowly go red. But thankfully it didn't work out in the long run.
Yeah. No, I knew nothing about the red mirage. I did not do my research prior to that. So when I saw the red mirage in person, I had several drinks.
Yeah. I mean, I was drinking anyway, so.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But okay, so go ahead, Melissa.
Say, you just you can't call it till all the votes come in.
Absolutely.
And, I think everybody knew that a lot of people were at home in quarantine. I've gotten a lot of family members and loved ones that are back in Minnesota that are in quarantine and have been in quarantine for a really long time. And there are a lot of people out there that are scared and afraid of what's going on with COVID, and so they sent the mail-in ballot, and you can't say that those people aren't valid because they didn't want to put their life in jeopardy and walk into the polling place. So I think it's unfortunate because the media, they like to be on top of everything and counting the votes and everything. And sometimes I just wish we would just be like, not forecast anything, not show anything till the final results. And it's like, bam, Florida's blue, bam, Florida's red, whatever.
Right. I mean, our election cycle is even like so much longer than other countries. But thankfully it's over for now. So with that, we're actually at the 20-minute mark. So it's time for a commercial and we'll be back for our main segment, which is going to be dedicated more to Tidor and talking about what the trans community here at APLA has going on. So definitely stay tuned.
Yay. See you soon.
guys, Ty here from APLA Health, and I got some good news for you.
APLA Health is launching our first ever at-home HIV testing initiative.
As we battle the global pandemic of COVID-19 and all that it entails,
APLA Health is doing what we can to fill the gaps for those who are in need of knowing their status, linking into care, and having safer sex options.
The initiative, officially known as Swab and Chill, will be our virtual hub for those seeking to take an HIV test, receive HIV kits, link into medical care for those who are HIV positive, while also having access to several other programs and services that specialize in harm reduction for HIV infection.
Such services include PrEP and PEP information, as well as substance abuse services. Our goal with Swab and Chill is to make HIV testing easily accessible and easy to use within the comfort of your own home.
We provide each client with the Aura Quick at-home testing kit. This kit is a simple test that is done by orally swabbing the gums and waiting 20 minutes for your results.
APLA staff is available to virtually assist clients with taking the test while providing resources and support for those who may test positive.
maybe you already know your status and you're just low on condoms and lube due to accessibility. No problem. We can also send you one of our safer sex kits right to your front door.
As we strive to keep our community safer and well informed, your privacy is also a high priority.
All packaging will appear from APLA Health. Our over-the-phone assessments are quick, easy, and secure, so you can feel safe in sharing your results with us and asking any questions that you may have.
If you or someone that you know is interested in having one of our at-home testing kits mailed to you, or you just want more information on what Swab and Chill can provide, please call one of our team members at 323-329-9713, or just email us.
Come swab and chill with 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 us.
And we are back.
I just love that commercial so much.
It makes you want to swab and chill, doesn't it?
Look. It absolutely does.
Lisa knows. She knows.
Yeah. I'm ready to call.
Actually, it's right there. So if you do want to swab and chill with us, it is going across the bottom. So if you are interested in doing our swab and chill, definitely reach out to us. We can assist you from the beginning to the end, and then also incentivize you. If you're within the demographic of young men of color between the ages of 18 and 29, you can get a gift card just for swab and chilling with us. So I'm excited for that.
Hi, Rogelio, you're back.
Oh, hey. I didn't even know that you left, sis.
So yeah, if anyone is interested in Swab and Chill, please email or call us. The phone number is scrolling, the 323-329-9713, or email us at swabandchill.org. And you can definitely get a free test mailed to you. It's free. It's easy. There's a video on all of our social medias on how to do it with me doing it, or you can call us and talk to us and we can walk you through it. It's painless, no blood, so you don't have to worry about finger pricks or anything like that. So there's no reason, and it's free.
Yes.
And you can do it whenever you want. That's the great thing, is you don't have to take time out of your day to drive to a clinic, to go to someplace that you just don't feel comfortable. I mean, you're just doing it in your own home, which is the best.
Exactly.
That's so true.
So
Rogelio, are you having audio?
Rogelio's having a little audio issues, but while we're waiting for audio, Melissa, go ahead and
audio issues, so I can't
we can hear you.
Yeah, so just bear with me for a second.
No problem.
I'm gonna try to play the audio from my other ear.
You want to introduce yourself, Melissa?
I can definitely introduce myself. I'm Melissa Marquette, she, her, hers. I've been on board with APLA for months now. Hey,
I can hear now. Sorry.
Okay, I was just introducing myself, so I'll keep going.
Perfect.
You can't interrupt me like that.
No, you can't.
So I've been on board with APLA for a couple months now. I've come on board as a transgender wellness program manager. I'm really excited because I've heard about APLA for several years and referred a lot of people that were coming to a support group that I was facilitating. And everybody was speaking volumes about, the services that APLA was providing down here in Long Beach. I just knew that like this was a great organization that I wanted to be a part of. I've got a lot of background in transitioning and trans health, trans mental awareness, all that. So I was just really excited to kind of build this opportunity and come on board to lead this program.
Well, we're
We
excited
love
to have
having you a part of the team.
Yeah.
We met Melissa at our team event, and Melissa's always been such a great ball of energy and a great ball of knowledge. So it's just fantastic to have you a part of the APLA family. Welcome. And you're on the link. Look at that.
Right. No, and just like personally, it's amazing to have another trans voice. Knowing that like is not only a trans voice, but is a trans person working for trans people in a higher up, position within the organization to assure, because, sometimes it could be hard, we're working, in the trenches, in the gutter, right? Yeah. Is what they say about us in the front lines who do prevention, right? So sometimes it's hard to feel connected to, any higher, administrative or, bureaucrat or any sorts of like leadership within the organization. No, not bureaucratic.
No, I completely agree. And that was one of the things that I had kind of stated with coming on board was like, look, if we as APLA really want to take this serious and really honor the services that we're providing to trans and GNC people, gender nonconforming, that we really need to have people at the head that know the struggles that people are facing. Because I think, as you may not know, but like, and this kind of leads into TDOR is that, trans individuals, we face trauma. We face trauma on a higher level than most individuals. Yes, we have the same kind of trauma, family trauma, but you don't have the trauma that you may face as a trans individual, like getting on public transportation. I mean, seriously, like when you're transitioning and you're getting on public transportation, you're going to get like probably at least 10 or 20 instances right there of just, something that's going to set you off. And we need to have people kind of at the core of APLA that understands that and can convey that to our providers so that when we have these individuals that come in that maybe just got off Metro, where they're just already on wit's end, that we're here to kind of help you, settle you down, make you feel comfortable. I mean, we're your peeps. We're here. We're your allies. So yeah, it's awesome to be on board. And I'm glad that APLA is really kind of taking this initiative.
No, yeah, that's amazing. And like I said, I really appreciate your presence so far at APLA. And just speaking about me and like personally with APLA and prevention, we currently are actually working on a huge event this Friday. So definitely more information on that. Skylar was supposed to come on, but he's having a bit of difficulty. So you can also be introduced to him on Friday. But with that, for Trans Day of Remembrance, it's a day that we celebrate all the trans people who have lost their lives to transphobic violence. This year has, been a very grim landmark because we've had, we've broken records. I think it was back in July that we actually broke the record for the year. I think the previous record was either 27 or 29 deaths in a year. And 29. We passed, 29. So we passed that in like July. And we're now up to, 34?
34, yeah.
So the fact that there's still a month and a half left in the year and we've seen, a record number of murders against trans individuals is very, very sad. So I think it's important for us to talk about that, that duality, that conflicting idea that trans people now, yes, we're getting more visibility than ever before. We're on TV. There are so many huge figures now that people can point to that are trans, whereas before, I remember when Laverne Cox first came on the scene, she was like a huge deal to be, a supporting actress in this huge Netflix show. And now there are a number of trans actors or just influencers out there that people can name. But along with that also comes this new targeting, Before trans people were in the spotlight, there were no bathroom bills, there was no military ban. It's only until we started taking up enough public space that we were then seen as deemed as a threat. So I think it's really important to speak to that. So I'm interested in getting Kai and Ty's perspective as, you know, the cis men on the panel. Just how have you all seen trans visibility, and what is all your impression on, you know, this, you know, increased amount of visibility for the community?
So I guess I can go first on that. So I, like you mentioned, I'm a cisgendered, not hetero, I'm a cisgendered man. And to be honest, I actually had never had an experience with a transgender person until I moved out to California. So that was in 2016. So my first kind of experience with transgender individuals who were openly trans wasn't until I was about 26 or 27. Since then, I have done everything I can to get to know this community in any way that I can possible in supporting them. And I will say one of the things that has been really exciting for me is this new being able to see my trans friends openly talk about their experiences, getting these platforms. And I think it was super, super important. But I'm also seeing people who really support them online. But then when it comes to real life, and then it made me be one of those people like, okay, am I doing this as well? Like, it's so easy to post a flyer. It's so easy to say trans rights. It's so easy to say these things, but it's about showing up. And I know that was something that I really had to work on. Just as I've gotten to know more trans people, really learn their stories and learn about the difference of what I thought being trans was and what it actually is. And learning the entire spectrum of, it's not just simple, you know, trans man, trans woman, or there's this whole beautiful, I don't want to say rainbow because that's so cliche, but this whole
spectrum
spectrum of gender. So I mean, yes, I identify my pronouns are he, him, his, but I'm so, even now with my own concept of gender has become so loose, and I know it's because of the trans community and the trans individuals in my life. So it's one of those things, like when I see trans representation, I make it a point to really pay attention and not just, oh, so great. But it's paying attention and listening to what they're saying and making sure that I express the value in what they're doing. So that's what I've been doing. And as you mentioned, this has been a horrible year for trans violence and trans death. And even just what we've been seeing on social media earlier this year of people recording beating trans people, like gets to that point where it's just, we can no longer just, it's great that we're all supporting trans people online, but we need to be doing this in public and that in person. And I think that's where my biggest like push now is like, yeah, we support what can we do in real life too?
I think you speak really a lot to that. I really want to focus on that point that you made about accountability, because I think it's super important as allies to be doing that work, because I think it's become so common in a lot of social justice spaces to just, you know, say things that become trendy, you know. So a lot of people say, you know, Black trans women, center Black trans women, but like, are you just saying it, or are you actually doing the work of, you know, approaching activism with this intersectional lens? Are you actually looking out for the trans people of color, the working class trans people in your life who are the most vulnerable? Or are you just parroting whatever you know is the most trendy? Because a lot of these influencers who get a lot of likes on their pictures and get a lot of, you know, yes queens and, you know, all of that, you know, they still have GoFundMes that are dry, that, you know, get donations a few days and then just people stop donating because they don't see trans issues as real issues. They see transitioning as a vanity project or whatever the case may be. So I think it's really important, that aspect of activism is accountability and knowing that, you know, is this really doing enough, and not taking things at face value, for sure.
I will definitely agree with Kai. Prior to moving here, I didn't have any experiences with anyone who identified as trans. So moving here was definitely an eye-opening experience. Then getting into the field was just another level of it. I remember starting to work with Apla Health. At that point, I had already met a couple of people who identified as trans, and we would go out to eat and hang out and stuff like that. But I would never inquire about the stuff that was going on within that community specific. I just figured we were just having regular conversation. I didn't want to kind of break the mood, talking about gay issues or like trans issues, whatever the case may be. But getting hired at Apla Health, you know, I had the pleasure of meeting UA, who no longer works with us, but she was very vocal about, you know, her community and the struggles that trans people face every single day. I'm in the process of doing that. Kwame, who is our Pyro Media man, put together a PSA for trans individuals with the activist Hope Giselle. And I was a part of that. And it was such a great experience to be able to lend my voice to that specific issue, you know. I don't believe personally, you know, as a gay Black man, that we support the trans community enough. I can only speak for myself. I know I feel like I can be doing a lot more to support the community. A lot of the times when we think about, you know, the revolutions within the LGBTQ spectrum, trans individuals have been at the forefront of that. So it's hard to, you know, be a gay man and not care about trans rights and trans safety. You know, just in general, I see the stuff on social media and the videos of people doing these terrible things to people that just want to live and be themselves. And it truly does hurt my heart. Coming into work, I do have conversations, you know, with my team when I'm feeling like, you know, wow, did you see that? Like, that's crazy. Because sometimes it's easier to express it. But my question will always be, you know, just until I feel like there's been a significant change, what can we do to better support and assist our trans brothers, sisters, and non-binaries? So, yeah, I think that I say all that to say, when you are living your truth, it's very, very hard to find support. And I think that within the LGBTQ plus AI plus spectrum, it shouldn't be hard for trans individuals to find that support. I think that we should do a lot more for our trans brothers and sisters.
What can we do?
That's the thing. I don't know. So I know.
Well, I can tell you what to do.
Right.
You know, and it's a little bit like, you know, you have these things where, you know, we face it every day. We face it every day since we were little. We've done it on the playground. You know, when you see somebody being bullied, you know, are you going to be the one that jumps in and, you know, gets behind the bully and starts bullying too? Or are you going to be the person that stands up for this other person that doesn't have their voice yet and can't stand up for themselves? So it's a little bit about, like, you know, when you see this stuff going on in public and you see somebody being shamed, or you see somebody being kind of ridiculed for being who they are, you know, we need people just to kind of like step up and just, you know, either give the person like some weird look, or, you know, even say something. Just be like, man, that's not cool. You know, I'm not saying, you know, start a fight or cause any physical confrontation.
Because I will.
Okay, awesome. I'm bringing you guys with me.
Right.
But yeah, it's just about stepping up and, you know, really supporting those that are getting put down. And it's tough because even in the transgender community, I've heard, I don't even know how many stories I've heard of this, where, you know, an individual will go to a dinner party, and obviously at the, you know, this was maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when this whole bathroom thing started becoming like an uproar, which was just, it was silly hysteria to begin with. But what was interesting was even the trans individuals themselves didn't want to stand up and say anything about this trans bill or this bathroom issue, because a lot of the trans people were not out. They were sitting at the table going like, well, I don't want to really defend trans people, because I feel like if I defend trans people, I'm going to out myself. And they weren't out yet. So they didn't even have the ability to voice their concerns yet. So, you know, that's some of the problem that we face in the trans community, is that basically we just don't, a lot of us don't have that voice yet. Thankfully, I found my voice and I'm using my voice, but a lot of us don't have our voice. And so we require those that are stronger to help us and to lift us up and make us feel normal, so we can create that voice.
Oh, yeah. I think that's a really good point. And I think going along with standing up for people, like, you don't have to know everything to know when something wrong is happening, or, you know, you don't have to know everything about gender theory and gender identity in order to know and defend a trans person, you know? And I think a lot of cis people, or a lot of people who attempt to be allies, kind of get caught up in that, because they're like, there's so much to know, or there's so many perspectives, or like even within the trans community, there are disagreements and all this. So they're just like confused and don't know what to do. But it's like, it's really about, you know, investing in the community, you know, going back to other, you know, injustices. I think it's really important to seek out trans voices, you know, don't just pay attention every now and then to trans people when something big is happening. Like, make it part of your everyday life. You know, do small things. Just make, you know, incorporate small things like that. Just because I know personally for other issues and other communities that I attempt to be allies to, I really try to do the work to get a variety of perspectives, or just like become, you know, a little bit more immersed in that community versus just, you know, researching and doing a lot every time something big happens. Because when that happens, then you kind of just out yourself by being like, oh, wow, I didn't know this was such a big deal. And like, what can I do?
Yeah.
It's like, well, a lot of people, if you've been paying attention, you would know that this was a big deal and that this has been going on.
I know specifically so I used to be the lead tester for Healthy Him back when we were in the office. So I had volunteered and opted to also test for Trans Connections, our program here at APLA Health. And I would love it because I got to talk and ask as many questions as possible, you know, well, with them feeling comfortable with me, of course, but I was able to ask questions. Yeah. And it was like we would have a conversation, and it was easy to leave that room with a better understanding about what that person went through. And when they would come back and specifically ask for me to test them, I was honored. I felt like, okay, I didn't overstep my boundaries. I didn't ask too many questions, and I made you feel comfortable. And that was a big deal for me because I am a part of the gay Black community, but at the same time, like I said, trans communities are brothers and sisters. So I can't just shy away from that. And it was so nice walking in one day and actually seeing one of the clients like, we're waiting on you, Ty, so go drop your bag and like get ready to test me and my friends. And I'm like, I am on my way. So I felt really, really good about that. So yeah, no, I agree. Definitely just, I guess we should probably, as gay Black men, make ourselves more open to learning. So often, you know, gay Black men or gay men in general will be like, we have our own struggle. That's not something we need to be concerned with. But yes, it is something that you need to be concerned with. We are all family in this spectrum. So it's very important for us to take the time out to have those type of conversations within reason, like Rogelio said, and be able to apply those to our everyday lives, as opposed to just having a conversation with people who identify with that community just when it's convenient.
Right. No, I think that you speak to a really important issue, because I think there is this attitude forming within the community that, you know, it's all about trans people now. Trans people are in the spotlight, you know, so we need to find a way to, you know, separate ourselves and also advocate for other sections of the community, instead of having this, like, you know, solidarity with each other and realizing that a win for trans people is a win for everybody in the community.
Absolutely.
But I wanted to let Kai say something really quick.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say, kind of based off of that too, because Ty mentioned for Black gay men, this is just for Black people in general. You know, speaking to my community that I can to Black people, this is your moment to be an ally. Be an ally the same way you would want non-Black people to be an ally to you because you're Black. So when you're in a room of people and they say anti-trans comments or anti-feminine comments or anything like that, stop them, correct them, hold that conversation, because that's the same conversation you would want someone else to have if they were saying an anti-Black statement. And I think there's so much space for everyone. There's no reason why. They're the new thing. Oppression isn't the new topic. Like, it's not a who gets oppressed. No. If we're all getting oppressed, we can share it. I can support you while you should support me. So that's something that, like, I make sure that I'm doing with my own Black family. You know, especially older Black individuals tend to have anti-trans statements that they might not mean it in a hurtful way, but they're just stuck in these same old kind of statements of, you know, the she-male or all of that, things like that, like really hateful terms. I'm like, you don't need to say that. Like, that's unnecessary. There's no reason for that. So that's what I have to say on that.
Agreed, 100%.
Yep. Just treat us all as humans. We're all humans.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Respect each other. Don't elevate one above the other. We're all the same.
And remember, if you're not sleeping with somebody, if you're not paying their bills, or if they're not paying your bills or anything like that, don't worry about them. Live your own life.
And don't be afraid, like I said earlier, speaking up for, you know, speaking up against transphobic comments. Don't be afraid of being that guy. I am that guy when it comes to my friend circle. I am that guy at the barbershop. I am that guy when it comes to sitting around the table with my family. It makes me feel hella smart when I am able to defend the trans community or just communities in general that I've come across. So don't be afraid of being that guy. No one's going to look at you and be like, oh, if they do look at you and be like, well, we can't say those things around him, that's a good thing. Don't say those things around me.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
And I think we can
okay.
also like even look to history as an example. Like historically, there weren't that many divisions within the LGBT community because it was all kind of seen as, you know, the same thing. Of course, not the same thing, but it was all, you know, divergent. It was all degenerate, you know? So it was like, looking back at even, you know, Paris is Burning, it was a community of a lot of diverse individuals, gay men, trans women, gender nonconforming individuals, even like butch lesbians were really big in the community, really instrumental in Stonewall, and that's not really talked about. So I think it's really important that we, you know, take a lesson from history and that like we all are kind of in this together. We're all kind of seen in the world a certain way, and we're all dealing with all these systems of oppression that we have to navigate in the world as people under this, you know, amazing umbrella.
I have a final question for Rogelio and Melissa. So what can we do for Trans Day of Remembrance to keep the conversation going?
Well, specifically, I think the things you can do is one is to honor and honor the names of the people that have passed, because we're not talking about, you know, somebody who, you know, was maybe shot or got into a car accident or something like that. You know, we're talking about brutal murders. We're talking about stabbings. We're talking about people being burned alive. I mean, come on. And, you know, what's shocking is that a vast majority of you know, the 35 people that were killed this year in the US alone, they were Black trans women. And a vast majority of it happened in their own home. I mean, here in your own safety, you think, you know, everything's going to be okay. And then this person turns on you. And I mean, it's just tragic. So honoring those names, saying those names. And I think one of the things that I would love cisgender people to do is just to tell 5 other people about Trans Day of Remembrance and what it means. Because if 5 people tell 5 other people and 5 more people tell 5 more people, it kind of raises that awareness. And that's what we're here to do. And, you know, one of the things that we really need to do, I think, on the civic side of things is these crimes need to be punished a lot harder because obviously they're not. You know, I know we have these hate crime bills and everything, but, you know, it's unfortunately these hate crimes aren't being punished hard enough. You know, they need to be punished hard so people think twice about, you know, trying to use some sort of cop out like, oh, well, I didn't know and it scared me and I didn't know what to do. It's like, come on, grow up. You're an adult. You know what you were doing. So it's just honor those names.
Right. I mean, of those 34 people, I think only one of them resulted in an arrest so far. One of them. So I think if you look at it, you know, 34 people being murdered within a year in a community that's already so small. You know, if this was happening to any other community on a proportional level, we would be hearing about it every single day. So I think it's really about understanding transphobia and how it functions specifically against trans femme people in this, you know, masculinity type of complex. So I think that it's really important to speak out for that particularly because that is the reason behind why so many trans people are being murdered. And not only that, it becomes a public health concern as well. You know, people are more afraid to come out of the closet. I know for sure that was something that kept me in the closet for so long, was the fear of transphobic violence. So I think that it's really important that we're talking about it just as regularly as possible and just realizing that this is an epidemic and that we have to treat it as one. But yeah, with that, I also just want to give a reminder about the TDOR event we're doing this Friday. So since today isn't the actual day, that day is when we'll really get into the nitty gritty, talk about the history of TDOR, and also be reading the names, which is very traditional to do for TDOR. So we'll be reading the name of the 34 people who have unfortunately lost their lives. And we'll also have some special performances by some great trans people, mostly trans people of color. So I definitely suggest that you all check that out. We have some amazing people performing. So yeah, definitely make sure to see that on Friday.
Where can we check that out at?
That'll be on the Trans Connections Instagram. So you could just find us at Trans Connections. We'll be revealing more about the performers on our story throughout the week, making sure to highlight them. So definitely make sure to check that out. We're really, really excited for Friday.
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Same.
Right.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it too.
So not to steal your thunder a little bit, but I want to let people know about something else that's happening this week at APLA. So tomorrow, APLA is helping anyone who needs assistance with open enrollment. So if you have questions about Colored California, if you have questions about your insurance or how to switch insurance, especially if you're a trans person, please, please take advantage of this. We're hosting a free Zoom, basically. So it's a free online webinar. I got all the information right here because I want to make sure I give everything right. So it's tomorrow at 2 p.m. If you have questions or if you want to talk to someone about it beforehand, you can call the phone number 213-201-1600 or 213-201-615. Or if you just know that you want to be there and you just want to go ahead and enroll already, you can go to aplahealth.org/ it's all right here, /workshop. And that will be for the event. This event is going to be helping for anyone who needs assistance with insurance. Maybe you lost your insurance because you lost your job due to COVID. Maybe you've never had insurance and you want to get back on it, or if you have questions for it. This is a free workshop for you, everyone out in the community. Please, please join us. And we'd love to see you there. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah. And trans health coverage, trans services are covered fully under Medi-Cal. So definitely take advantage of that. If you know, that's a barrier for any trans people out there, definitely know that you can take advantage of that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Kai, because I know there's so many trans individuals that don't have health coverage, or they
don't know.
Or they may be under their parents' health coverage, and their parents' health coverage isn't the coverage that they need. They need better coverage because it's a lot of times these other health insurance policies don't have trans initiatives on their riders. So I'm glad you shared that. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah. Are we ready for our next topic? Where are we going next, everybody?
I think next we have a commercial, don't we?
Oh, that was it. That was our commercial. That was me.
That was the blurb.
Oh,
perfect.
We have schedules, everyone, if you're wondering, so we try to stick to them. So
yes. What is next up on our schedule?
Let's go ahead and go to the quickie.
Oh, the quickie. So we are introducing a new segment called the quickie, where we get questions from you, the viewers, and then we ask the questions to the panel. Oh, what's the quickie?
The quickie is our little knowledge or little thing that we've been thinking about.
Oh, I have that in the wrong section on my phone. Okay.
So
really
we'll go
back in.
So this week for the quickie is just a little section where we can talk about, one person gets to decide on whatever we want to talk about today. This week it got to be me because I said so. One thing that I've been seeing a lot on social media, as everyone knows, is I love social media. One thing that I've been seeing a lot on social media, we've been seeing a lot more representation of people who communicate through sign language or are deaf. And one thing that I've really been thinking about is, we learn in school cursive. When are we using cursive? Never. But wouldn't it be great if we learned sign language instead? Because there are people who live in this country who cannot communicate with people outside. And if it's something as simple as us just saying, hello, how are you? Or nice to meet you. Like, my name is Kai. Like, see, I know a little sign language because I had a friend. But
look at that.
One of the things that I think is really important, because to tie it all into our special topic for today, everyone check out the activist Chella Man. Chella Man is a model and actor, as well as a trans man living their truth who is also deaf. And Chella gives a lot of great, intersectionality between, people who are living with disabilities and thriving with disabilities, as well as trans people as well. So what's everyone's thought on that? I think sign language we should learn.
Well, first and foremost, sign language is cool as hell.
Right.
I think that is really, really dope. And you know what? I agree. So I do write in cursive, but I do agree that sign language should have been taught in grade school or at least middle school.
Right.
Just based off of the fact that, like you said earlier, it is a communication piece. It's a way of communication. And it's probably a lot easier than a lot of us expect. I know sometimes when people start picking up other languages. Mm-hmm. Yeah, people start taking other languages and stuff like that. They start to get like, oh, well, I'm just like, I don't know if I have the time to learn. if you can commit to 30 minutes a night to learn sign language, I bet you by the end of this year alone, you'll at least be able to form a few sentences.
Exactly. I wanted to speak to this particularly because I actually had in the last program I was on, one of my my volunteers was actually deaf, and another one was actually hard of hearing. So getting their experience was actually really eye-opening for me, just because not only did they have to navigate the world as queer people, but also deaf people, and also being from just like low-income communities, they didn't have access to a lot of the care. A lot of them like don't even have trouble even communicating with their parents because their parents haven't done the work of learning sign language themselves. So I think it's really important that we normalize these conversations, because even Chella Man, who's huge and who, you know, is such a huge voice for intersectionality, you know, he also grew up a lot more privileged, middle class, you know, that kind of stuff. So he probably had access to those kinds of opportunities, and a lot of the clients we serve who may be hard of hearing or deaf may not have had access to those. So I think it's really important that we support this and recognize, you know, intersectionality, because, you know, it's one thing being deaf, but if you're deaf and queer, deaf and trans, then it's just like a whole other barrier that you have to get through.
Yeah,
it definitely is. And, you know, I've had some individuals that have, I've led support groups or facilitated support groups for trans individuals and non-binary for probably the better part of 4 years. And I've actually had a couple individuals that come into the support group, and thankfully, you know, they were aware that, you know, they can, you know, get an interpreter, a sign interpreter to come with them. And I was absolutely blown away, because you're talking about somebody who, somebody that you might not hear their voice ever. And they came to the support group, and what the things that they were talking about and the things they were speaking were so powerful, because it was coming from a voice that's rarely heard. It was just really an honor to have that person in the room. And I was just really thankful that there are people out there that do signing that can lend their voice to somebody who doesn't have a voice. So, you know, if you are a trans individual that wants to speak up and wants to attend more events, you know, there are services out there. I need to actually find out what specific services there are, but there are services that you can call up and request an interpreter for you. So, but yeah, I think if we all learn sign language, I mean, what's it going to hurt? Nothing, you know? I'm happy to take 30 minutes out of like my vanity shows at night or whatever show I'm watching.
Right. If you could spend 30 minutes on
watching American Horror Story last night. So, you know, it's like, you know, instead of watching that, spend time doing a little sign language. I mean, we all have a lot of downtime right now. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah,
very true.
If ever you're interested, there's so many websites online that offer free signing courses. Sometimes when I'm bored, I go onto them. So you can learn things. Even something like, I ate pancakes yesterday. Like, how great is that?
Right.
Did you really eat pancakes yesterday, or was that a lie?
It was a lie. But
I don't think I could see you being bored, by the way. Like, that just
there's a lot. Yeah.
You haven't seen us in meetings, Melissa. I'm kidding.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Well, that's our time for today. Rogelio, do you want to sign us off for today?
No, yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for joining us for this very special edition of The Link. I hope that you enjoyed our fabulous guest, Melissa. I really appreciated.
I enjoyed Melissa a
lot. I
We
really
need to come back.
appreciated her voice and her input on this episode. I think it's super important, and it's super reassuring for me, somebody who is working as a prevention training specialist directly with our programs, to know that there's somebody in leadership who has our interests in mind. So with that, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you check out our T-Door special on Friday on our Instagram. So that's all at Trans Connections. Make sure you join us next week for another weekly show. I won't be hosting, but, you know, we'll see who will. And
you'll be there,
keep
though.
up. All right, then. Thank you all so much.
Bye.
Have a good one. Bye.